And I think I want to reiterate the word that you said. You need to have tremendous amount of clarity. Clarity need not necessarily be knowing how to come out of it, because not everyone will have that clarity on how to do that. But at least what I'm going to do in the next 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, there should be clarity. And obviously, that can change based on the experience of what you go through. But if you don't have a plan and don't have the clarity to communicate that, then it becomes even more difficult.
Yeah. Ranga, I lost you for a brief second, but I think you are right. I think clarity is the key. And, how do you get clarity? It's not easy. In a muddied water, it's never going to be clear, and you still need to wade through those tough decisions that you're going to make. And you know what? It's be bold, and communicate as much as you can. Over communicate. That would be the mantra that I would use.
Yeah. So now we'll move to the next most important aspect. I think we'll come to business a little later. The employees. There is a lot of anxiety around in terms of in the minds of employees, whether their pay is going to be cut, whether their employment is going to continue, whether the business will be able to kind of continue to employ them. And similar thoughts in the minds of employers who actually like a lot of employees, but they are forced to do a set of actions which are difficult. In fact, we have a question from Somu Chokalingam, who's asking, what care should we take in dealing with this kind of employee issues? If we need to let them go, how do we do that? If we don't need to let them go, what could be the strategy? How do you deal with that? I think this is the question which is asked by many people.
Yeah. No, it's a question that we all ponder every single day. And there are good times and not so good times and bad times in life, right? Life is not a straight line. And I would say that you have to boldly cut cost. You could cut cost in many ways. One is a uniform reduction in salary across the board, and be upfront and talk about, I'm sure your organizations talk a little bit at least about the revenue numbers, if not the profits or losses that you have. So share where you are, share your customer pain points and the demand destruction, if that has happened in certain sectors of your business, or delays in orders, no new sales orders coming in. All those are going to be reality, right? Nobody is going to open up their checkbook and give it to you. So I think you need to balance your checkbook every single day and every single month. So my request would be that think of how you can cut salaries, how you can reduce your workforce, how can you get rid of your contract employees if that's possible in certain cases. In all of this, the only goal is to survive and make sure that you are surviving. The strategy is survive. When you are in war, the strategy is survive. You don't worry too much about everyone else. You cannot think of what others are doing. So I would say go inward, find the strength, and be honest and communicate. It is very painful. It's not going to be easy to let go of employees in these tough times, but you have to take care of your business. So my recommendation, unfortunately, is do what is right for your business, and also reduce unnecessary travel costs, unnecessary communication costs that happens. I think those can also bring in some savings into the organization. I think we need to improve the productivity of every individual in the organization. And sometimes we may have to ask people to do multitasking. For example, in a business like ours, this is not the time to sit in corporate office. Including our finance team and legal team may have to go to the centers where the customers come and help them. So I think we need to do all of that in these kinds of days. We have seen some amount of demand destruction, Ranga, during the demonetization that occurred, not that far. If I go back several times in history, we have had situations where order flow in IT was not as good, or we were preparing for certain platforms in IT and those platforms were not beginning to take off. There were delays in decision. So we had to cut those costs. And I really think that either you ask people to skill themselves and do what is right for the business and cut on any major development activity and future activity unless it is very clear that you are going to get a huge upside. And that's possible. That is also possible. So that's a tough balancing act you have to do. But number one strategy is survive.
Thanks. We have another question around the same employee bucket. We have somebody asking you how to keep motivation of employees going, especially the millennials. They have a different thought process. So how do I motivate them to fight on?
I've worked with lots of millennials, and my personal experience is they love challenges and they love data. They love to analyze way more than my generation, and they like to learn a lot. So the best way to challenge them and keep them engaged is to teach them. And at this point in time, let's say we are working for 8 to 9 or 10 hours. We could run parallel classes and each one of us need to take certain classes, share our experiences and really connect with them. And I think they can produce miracles from my own personal experience, including me, that they are resume builders and they will just jump and skip. But most of them will stay with you if they are mentally challenged and if they can trust you as a leader, and they won't jump the ship. They will fight and they will come up with very good ideas. And we all need to be frugal in spending our money on new ideas. But I think if anybody can do it, it is the millennials who can do it. They understand technology. They understand how to use the technology way better than all of us. So I think this is the time to bet on them also. And they have unbelievable energy. And I'm sure HR can come up with simple programs that are not expensive, like we all have done, crickets on weekends and other ideas. Maintain the spirit of togetherness. And I think that will help us go through these tough days. All the people want to win. Nobody likes to lose. So they will not give up that easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And Vivek, I hope you got an answer to that. I think millennials are also very fearless. They don't have experience of the past. And sometimes experience can be a huge burden, right? Because we all think that it is not possible.
Well said. Experience can be a burden.
Absolutely.
Sometimes 20 years of experience is 20 times 1 year experience, which doesn't help, right?
Absolutely. And somebody is making a very specific question to you. I'm a little off the track at this, but since you have a specialization in diagnostics and testing and all that, we have a person asking you whether the testing levels are adequate. Do we have enough testing labs in the country? Is this the right level of testing and all that? So I think it's probably a relevant question because you guys probably are
to get into it. It's a passionate subject of mine. I have created a think tank group to come up with innovative solutions, and there are people all over India who are thinking about solutions of mass testing. See, one of the key questions that we are asking in the think tank group is, yeah, lockdown is great. That will reduce the containment of the virus. But when we open up, what will happen? And how do we build the confidence in each and every individual that they are okay? How will they social life and spending their money? going to theaters and malls and coming back to life. I think that will happen only when there is mass testing. Maybe I am biased because I'm not running anymore the data. But when I look at it, I think there are several ways to do it. Today, there is positives and negatives. To give you, if we were to do 10% of India's population, that means we have to do 100, and if it is 5%, 69 million people have to be tested, and that can happen over even 120 days. The current test, what we call as the confirmatory test, has been approved by ICMR. Today it is a warlike situation, so the government, that cost to the government will be in the neighborhood, or to any one of us collectively, the total cost is around 40,000 crores, and we are working on ideas to come up with indigenous markers that can reduce the cost down to about 9,000 to 5,000 crores. Now, those are one set of testing, which I don't want to get into the technical details, but it is certainly something that we can provide the test, a COVID SARS-2 virus into you. Typically, your antibodies are good for 3 years or 4 years, they say. So this particular one, we had chicken pox or smallpox. Unfortunately, you don't get it back because your antibodies will be there. So I think those are the things that will happen, and people will be, and even towards building the confidence. Every organization after lockdown, if it wants to bring back the confidence of people, will have to make sure that infected people don't come in. So I guess we have a lot of work ahead of us to get back to normalcy before the malls open, before the theaters open, before the public transportation opens up completely for us. So I think these are all challenges, but there are huge opportunities also embedded in them. Hopefully, Ranga, this answers a little bit, because I don't want to dwell too much on this, but if there is anything specific you have, I can answer that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the question is primarily because of your background and you are into that. So we'll move a little bit more into the cash flow, finances, that kind of situation. I think there are a lot of questions around how to improve cash flow and what do we do. We have a gentleman, Prabhunath, who's asking us, we have pending invoices with our customers, and they're also affected by COVID, but they're not able to clear the payment. But we're struggling with that. How do you deal with things like that? No. Okay, so let me repeat that. I think probably the internet was slow. We have payments pending with our customers, and they're not able to clear because they're also affected. And but since at the same time we need money, how do we deal with a situation like this? This could be a supplier to you as well. So how do you deal with the cash issues like this? Are there some good ideas? That's one question is coming, and I think leading to that is overall situation of what do you do to improve cash flow in this situation?
No, very, very tough situation, and the ground reality all of us are facing. Whether the customer is a government, it's even tougher to collect money today because all the money is going and kept away for COVID-19 fighting in the health departments. So all the prior bills are mounting up for many people. Infrastructure, telecom, all of these areas are affected badly. So, but to come back to reality, I guess this is when your relationship with the banks, relationship with NBFCs will matter a lot. I think you're not the only one who is suffering. Your own credibility of your own management team at that point in time, I think you need to go in front and spend a lot of time to secure some kind of financing at some expensive rates, some cases, or not so expensive rates. You need to figure out that is possible, and all those which are very common instruments that are available, and can you get for your inventory additional loans if you are some possibility? I would say that business will get back, but will it be back in 3 months or 6 months is the question, right? That is the time that we all need to fight every single day. Your time with your CFO or yourself, planning every penny of the cash flow is critical. You need to stretch, and you need to stretch in such a way that it doesn't snap. Some of the big companies that I have heard, and I don't want to mention, I don't know if they are confidential, they are asking for rent deferment for 6 months. I mean, large retail outlets on high streets are negotiating as we speak for 6 months, not only deferment, non-payment in some cases, 3 to 4 months. So I think you have to find the team that can, something that can significantly save. In many businesses, rents can be 3 to 4% or 2 to 3% of your business. You cut your cost on employee. If it is 20, 22%, you cut 3% or 4% there. And then if you have to start working on lower inventory, reducing your fixed cost is a reality today. And you cannot assume that every cost that is there is fixed cost. You have to question and be tough. Many companies are holding back their expansion plan of 35,000 square feet of new space. They are asking people, thanks to COVID-19, almost 30 to 40% of the people are working from home. They have the technology, but they never used it. Companies are beginning to use Microsoft Teams to manage. So I think those are the kinds of things that we need to boldly experiment and hopefully bring down the cost. And we all have to find, our vendors also will have to help us in these situations, because they also need to keep the factory running. So I think it is a cycle, and ultimately we will come out of the cycle only when the consumer starts consuming at the full level, and which can take 90 days. Hopefully, we hope that it will come back in 90 days, but it's not easy to predict that we will be back fully in 90 to 180 days. That's why I said the fear of bankruptcy is real, and we need to really get help from the government. Companies, they are not out of issues. Go and buy smaller companies at a cost that is unbelievable. Forget the valuation, right? So I think those are opportunities for guys with cash, those who are strapped for cash. Very tough times, very, very tough times, but I'm sure you will survive.
And do you believe that investors will be willing to invest at this particular time? I mean, won't they hold back, or do you believe that there is possibility that the venture capitalists or the angel investors or other investors will invest at this point in time? What is your sense?
No, I think it depends totally on your business, the sector, and the long-term growth opportunities or viability of the business, not the short term. I think everyone understands our rosy picture you paint to the investor. They know how to discount it, and they know how to come up with a number which you may not like, but I think it's time to evaluate those options, and whether you have to bring in a minority investment, or do you have to boldly tie up with your competitor. All those strategies have to be thought through carefully to protect your equity value and keep your business and realistic. Cut cost wherever you can, and be, I'm not saying ruthless, be compassionate, but you have to survive.
All right, thank you. So one of the things that we are also doing at TiE, and I'm sure other industry organizations are also doing, is to go back and tell the government of the issues that businesses have, the SMEs have, the medium-sized businesses have, and all that. And some of the programs that they've come out so far have not been so effective in terms of reaching credit to them. In fact, hopefully soon, maybe this week itself, we might have the Finance Secretary of Tamil Nadu the MSME department secretaries. They've agreed to come on calls with us in TiE, and hopefully the community will be able to give them a feedback in terms of what is affecting them. So we'll continue to try our best. There's no single answer to anything, but we will hopefully find solutions. Going back on one question on the people, we have Mr. Madhu asking you a question. The pandemic, he's in the construction business, and he says that the pandemic has meant that the migrant laborers have to go back to their places. And so, what will it take for them to come back? What confidence that they need to have before they're coming back? And because without that, his industry won't start. So, what is your sense on that? And what do you think government should be doing that there as well?
No, I think government, I'm sure, I don't know, but I am confident that they recognize that agriculture is the first one. It's not going to wait for our pandemic. The harvest season is harvest season, sowing season is sowing season, and those sector will require, because otherwise we will have a serious food shortage in the country in 6 months or 1 year from now. We don't have enough inventory to see us through, and prices could go up if the productivity comes down and production comes down. So I think that sector will get the the first right in terms of getting all the labor back. In terms of construction, I would say that, yeah, it is very critical, and I think you will see that these migrant workers will come back, but everybody worries about their own personal safety, like each and every one of us is worrying for our family members. So they are no different. I'm sure their family is no different. They will find tough ways to survive. But reality is they need the job too. And I can't predict a time frame by which they will come back. But certainly, I think it will happen as soon as the borders are open, mass transportation is back in place, and people start getting the confidence. It's not going to be 100% coming back in one day. It is going to be trickling in, probably 20-30%, and initially those 20% will cost us more, and then subsequently we will see that it will come back to normalcy. I can't predict the time frame when what it will be, and I hope that it is 60 to 90 days that we will be back to normalcy. And I repeat it, it's a hope. The virus, and how well is our healthcare system ready to take care of cases that are going to be there. So the challenge is real, and I think we all will have to find solutions to it. And I think eventually the migrant workers will need the job and they will come back. That's why they came in the first place, sacrificing their homes because they don't have opportunities there. So I don't have a clear answer there, Ranga, but I hope this helps to say that it is a concern. It is a serious concern for many factories. Several friends of mine are ready, they are allowed to produce, but they don't have workers today. Unfortunately, at one end, we say unemployment is very high. At the other end, these kinds of jobs, there are not too many people who want to take it.
I guess the workers, migrant workers, are to be informed at some point in time that the spread of diseases is contained, and it is safe for them to get out of their place and start working. We have a question from Vivek Desai, who's saying that the demonetization changed the way the payments are made into a digital platform, digital payment. Similarly, do you think it will happen for the real estate industry? With a lot more people working from home, the demand for real estate, will it go down significantly? Is it going to be the reality of future?
Personal opinion, I think, yeah, real estate will go down. Values will go down by 20 to 30%. and occupancy will come down substantially by 20 to 30 in the commercial side. And I really think that overall, the companies will benefit a little bit in terms of margins, but people, if they find the right rhythm, they will start producing the same sitting at home, and travel will come down substantially, and hospitality sector will be affected because there will be lesser spend in the next 3 to 6 months to 12 months. And some of these behavior changes from businesses and customers and our own behavior change will be permanent. The world will change. 2003 SARS in China was the genesis of Alibaba. We all know that. People changed their behavior and they started buying from online, and that's the way Alibaba grew. I'm sure that even people will work from home. We have been trying to have this work from home concept for the last 15 years. But today is a tipping point. We are forced to do it. And some of us will say very soon that, yeah, 30, 40% of my people are very happy working from home and I'm getting the same productivity. I don't need the offices. I said that some of the people will delay the postpone their decision to get into new office space. But the reality is many will give up their office space too because they can work. I have seen a very successful program in America in the mid-90s in one of my customers called LexisNexis and Westlaw. They were online publishers, and even without any crisis, they started allowing people to work from home. Their HR did amazing things that I remember in the mid-90s to say that once a week, each one of them will come into a shared cubicle, and then once in a week, they will all come into the conference rooms and cafeterias and have meetings on specific jobs. And believe it or not, at that time, they had 20-25% of the people working from home. It was done mainly because of the situation in America where help is not available. Here in India, we have the social fabric to support the husband and wife working together. But I think we will start finding people enjoying productivity going up, and the team spirit can be maintained by use of good technology also. Today, it's all available.
Absolutely. And I actually agree with you. I'm from the industry where we've worked on remote working for many years. Maybe not so much the work from home, but remote working. But even with that, it is a bit of a challenge because we need to learn to change the way we give work and evaluate employees. We need to be able to define the inputs and the outputs very clearly and have the maturity to deal with unsupervised kind of working very, very closely. So changes that will come. And I think there are people who work in the process areas. People find a lot of demand to be able to write those processes, monitor them.
Yeah, we are going to see technology shifts too. We are going to see robotics doing robot, when I say machine robot, not in manufacturing sense, but in computers. The routine jobs will be done. Artificial intelligence will come in, and those will analyze and trend the data way better than we are doing today using spreadsheets and other things. So I think there are going to be some exciting opportunities ahead of us in predicting consumer behavior, demand, and forecasting. So I think all those are real, and even supply chain movements will become AI based. So I think, yeah, we may lose 10 to 15% of people will become unemployed in the current skill set that they have, and they may have to reskill themselves. This is the same thing that happened when computers came in, right? In America in the mid-80s, people used to type. There were 15 secretaries typing memos. There were 2 guys doing faxes every single day. All those jobs were eliminated. We have gone digital. But it doesn't mean unemployment increased. They just shifted gears and found another spot. Similarly, reskilling is going to be a necessity, and I think it will happen.